Welcome to Somni Story. Tonight, there's no loud plot twist or dramatic confession, just a soft truth many people carry, quietly beneath the surface. It's the quiet weight of always being the one who listens, the one who nods gently through someone else's pain, who holds space when no one else can, who knows the right words or the silence to offer. It's something you've done for so long that it's hard to remember when it started. Maybe it was in childhood, when you first noticed that people felt lighter after talking to you. Maybe someone once said, "You're such a good listener," and it stuck to your identity like a sticker that never peeled off. Or maybe it wasn't a compliment at all. Maybe it was survival. You learned early on that being quiet, being supportive, being there meant being safe. You sit there now, probably not realizing how often your presence has been a lifeline to others. Friends who call at 11 p.m. just to vent, coworkers who linger at your desk because they just need a minute, strangers in grocery stores who sense something in your eyes and start spilling their secrets. And every time you show up, you nod, you offer warmth, you ask the next question, you understand. But here's the part no one sees. No one stays after the conversation ends. No one asks how you're doing with the same softness you offer them. No one notices that while they left feeling lighter, you're the one who took on their weight. And you carry it well, too well. You smile so gently. Your voice stays steady. You never interrupt. You don't ask for more than you think you deserve, which, let's be honest, is probably far less than what you actually need. Somewhere along the way, your listening became a kind of armor, a soft shield that said, "I'll be what you need, so you don't have to worry about me." But beneath that soft shield is something you don't often say out loud. You're tired. Not from the conversations themselves, not from the people, but from the imbalance, from the quiet ache of being the one who absorbs but rarely releases. You start to wonder if people even realize that listeners have stories too. You've spent so much time holding space for others that you forgot what it feels like to be held, to be asked sincerely, "What's going on in your world?" without it being a courtesy before they shift the spotlight back. You've been so focused on being the safe place for others that you never gave yourself permission to build one for yourself. And here's the question you never let rise to the surface, until now, maybe, in this quiet moment with nothing demanding your attention. Who listens to you? Who hears the way your heart clenches when your phone buzzes and you already know it's someone needing something? Who notices how you pause before answering because you're not sure if you have the emotional space left, but you'll give it to them anyway? Who understands that behind your gentle yes, there's a part of you whispering no, louder every time? It's not resentment. You're not angry. You're just hollowed out in places, like a teacup filled too many times and never refilled. Still beautiful, still useful, still offered to guests with grace, but chipped now, slightly cracked around the edges. And the cracks aren't your fault. They're the echoes of all the times you stayed silent,
all the times you held the pain in so others could let theirs out. But tonight is different. Tonight, you don't have to listen. Tonight, you don't have to nod. Tonight, you can be the one who's heard. Let this story be for you. Let this voice reach places inside you that haven't been touched in a long time. Let this be the beginning of something quiet and healing. You've given so much. You're allowed to receive. So now, close your eyes if you haven't already. Let the quiet be yours for once. Let this moment unfold slowly, softly, like the breath you didn't know you were holding.
It's strange, isn't it? How easily your voice has faded behind everyone else's. You didn't mean for it to happen. Not really. It wasn't like one day you decided to stop speaking. It just happened, slowly. 100 little moments where you stayed quiet so someone else could speak louder. 100 times you swallowed your own storm to shelter theirs. You learned to listen so well that you forgot what your own voice even sounded like when it wasn't echoing someone else's pain. And now, sometimes, when you do try to talk, really talk, it feels foreign in your mouth, like a language you used to know. You reach for your thoughts, but they hesitate, unsure if this is a safe place to land. You begin to explain how you feel, and then pull it back with, "But I'm okay," or "It's not a big deal." Or worse, you laugh it off. You always laugh it off. Because what if they don't take it seriously? What if your sadness makes them uncomfortable? You've been the echo chamber for everyone else. But when your own thoughts start to rise, there's no place for them to bounce. Just silence. Or worse, a quick change of subject. A glance at the phone, a polite, "That sucks," followed by a monologue about someone else's bad day. So eventually, you stopped trying. You told yourself it's fine, that being the listener is enough, that not everyone is built to be heard. You even convinced yourself that your problems are smaller, easier, less deserving. After all, you're strong, right? You're the one everyone leans on. You're not supposed to need the leaning. But here's what they don't see. Behind every time you say, "Don't worry about me," there's a little voice inside whispering, "Please worry about me." Not in a dramatic way, not to become the center of attention, just to feel considered, remembered, seen. You think back to the last time someone sat across from you and asked, "How are you, really?" and waited, really waited. Didn't interrupt, didn't rush, didn't twist your answer into something about them. Can you even remember? Maybe it's been so long that you've forgotten what it's like to feel heard instead of useful. There's something sacred about being listened to, not just with ears, but with presence, with intention, with care. It's like being offered a soft place to land after carrying yourself alone for too long. And you've been carrying yourself alone for too long. Your emotional backpack is full, zip shut and strapped tight, but inside, it's overflowing with everyone else's heartbreaks, fears, rants, late-night crises. You've become the keeper of unspoken things, the quiet witness to so many unravelings. And still, no one asks what it costs you, because you don't show it. You smile, you nod, you say things like, "I'm just glad I could help." And you mean it, mostly. But underneath that, there's a part of you wondering, when do I get to be the one who's held? Listening is beautiful. It's powerful. But it shouldn't be lonely.
Your voice deserves the same grace you offer everyone else's. Your stories, your pain, your joy, none of it is too much. None of it is selfish. None of it is something to apologize for. So tonight, I want you to hear something you may not have heard in a while. You matter, even when you're not the one holding someone else up. You're worthy, even when your hands are empty. You're allowed to speak and not have to wrap it in disclaimers or jokes. The echoes inside you aren't empty. They're waiting for you to stop silencing yourself out of habit, waiting for you to stop making yourself smaller so others can expand, waiting for you to believe that you don't have to earn your right to be heard. Let this moment be a gentle undoing, not a fight, not a protest, just a quiet remembering of your voice, of your needs, of your place in the world, not as a backdrop, but as a story worth listening to. Even now, as you lie there just listening to this, your mind might be reaching for someone else's pain, someone else you could check on tomorrow, someone who might need you. But right now, just for this breath, bring that focus back to you. No one else, just you. Because your voice deserves to echo back, not into emptiness, but into care. And that begins by allowing yourself to be here, fully, unapologetically, quietly, but completely.
It's funny how often you say, "I'm fine." It rolls off your tongue so easily now, doesn't it? Like muscle memory. A quick reflex. You could be standing in the kitchen, staring blankly at the sink after a long day, and someone asks how you are. Your lips curve into that soft smile, your voice even, rehearsed. "I'm fine." And maybe they nod, maybe they don't notice the way your hands are trembling slightly, or the way your eyes avoid theirs for just a second too long. You've become so good at performing fine that even you almost believe it sometimes. Almost. But not quite. Because deep down, you know the truth. You're not fine. Not in the way that word pretends to mean. You're functioning, yes. You're surviving. You're getting through the day. But there's something hollow underneath. A kind of silent ache that never really leaves. It hides behind your to-do lists, your helpfulness, your smile. And maybe that's the hardest part, knowing that your pain doesn't show up in the ways people expect. There are no dramatic breakdowns, no stormy outbursts, just stillness, quiet. The slow unraveling of someone who's always been the strong one. You don't scream, you shrink. You don't cry in public, you hold it until the door clicks shut behind you. And then maybe, if the silence is soft enough, you let one tear slip down. Just one. Anything more would feel like losing control. Because that's what it's always been about, hasn't it? Control. If you can stay composed, helpful, calm, then maybe everything around you won't fall apart. Maybe people will still rely on you. Maybe you'll still be enough. So you master the art of disappearing behind a mask of okay. You answer texts with cheerful emojis. You laugh at jokes you don't find funny. You show up on time, say the right things. Make sure everyone else is comfortable, even when your own comfort is long forgotten. But the thing is, your heart knows. It always knows. It feels the quiet panic when you lie in bed, staring at the ceiling, wondering how long you can keep this up. It hears the sighs you try to muffle,
The way your breath catches when someone says, "You're so strong," like it's a compliment, but you know it means they'll never think to ask if you're tired. And you are tired. Soul tired. You wish sometimes that someone would see past your "I'm fine," that they gently take your hand, look into your eyes and say, "You don't have to be. Not with me." But you've waited, and most days, that hand never comes. So you keep saying it, keep pretending, keep shrinking into the version of yourself that everyone seems to like best. The one who never needs, never breaks, never complains. What they don't understand is that your "I'm fine" is your armor. And like all armor, it's heavy. You wear it not because you're dishonest, but because the truth feels too raw to hand over casually. Because you've tried before. You've opened up once or twice, only to be met with discomfort, dismissal, or worse, advice. Sometimes you don't want advice. You want softness. You want someone to hold your sadness without needing to fix it. To sit beside you in the silence and say, "I get it. Me too." But until then, you hold space for yourself the best way you know how. With late-night journaling, with long showers where the water hides your tears, with quiet moments like this one, where for once, someone is speaking the words you've never said aloud. You're not weak for feeling this way. You're not broken. You're not too much. You're a human being who has spent too long pretending that exhaustion doesn't count if it's quiet. So tonight, let's break that spell. You don't have to be fine. Not here. Not now. You're allowed to feel the ache, to sit with it, to breathe through it without rushing to package it into something more palatable. You don't need a resolution. You don't need to be inspiring. You just need to be real. Let the mask rest on the nightstand. Let the armor slide off your shoulders. You are safe here. And in this small space of truth, your healing begins.
You're always the shoulder, the steady presence, the listener, the one everyone turns to when life feels messy and loud and overwhelming. And you offer yourself up willingly because that's who you are, right? The dependable one, the rock. You nod, you comfort, you say the right thing at the right time. People cry into your chest, their tears soaking your shirt, and you just hold them quietly, like you've practiced this role your whole life. But here's the part no one really sees. After they leave, after the comforting and the nodding and the helping, you stand there, alone, still carrying the weight of their world on your back, still echoing their words in your head hours later, still wondering why no one ever thinks to ask if you need a shoulder too. It's not like you expect grand gestures. You don't want anyone to drop everything and rush to your side. You don't crave drama. What you long for is quieter, simpler. A hand on your back, maybe. A whispered, "How are you really?" that doesn't expect a quick answer. A moment where you're allowed to fall apart and not be the one holding the tissues. But that moment doesn't come, does it? Because you've played your part too well. You've smiled through the struggle, you've laughed off the loneliness, you've stitched up your own wounds in the dark so cleanly, so silently that no one even noticed you were bleeding. And now they assume you're fine, strong, always okay. They don't see the nights when you lie awake, your chest heavy, wondering what someone's shoulder without apologizing. To speak and not feel like you're stealing time from someone else's story. But every time you try, something stops you. Maybe it's the fear of being too much. Maybe it's the voice in your head that says, you're the helper, not the helped. Or maybe you've just grown so used to being invisible in your own narrative that asking for comfort feels foreign, even wrong. Still, there's that ache, the quiet yearning. You watch the way others are embraced so freely, so naturally. You see them melt into hugs, dissolve into tears without hesitation. And part of you wonders, why not me? And then you answer yourself, because you made it look easy, because you didn't speak up, because you learned somewhere along the way that your value came from being useful, not vulnerable, from giving, not needing. So you keep showing up for others, even when your own soul is parched. You offer your shoulder like a reflex, even when your own body aches for rest. You keep being the person you wish someone would be for you. And that is both beautiful and heartbreaking. Because you deserve more than that. You deserve reciprocity. You deserve someone who sees you not just as a source of strength, but as someone who needs softness too. Someone who doesn't just admire your resilience, but is willing to sit with you in the moments when you have none left. You are not selfish for wanting this. You are not needy for longing to be held. You are human. So tonight, let yourself feel that desire. Don't push it down. Don't shame yourself for it. Let the longing rise. Let it breathe. It doesn't make you weak. It makes you honest. And maybe, just maybe, this moment right here is a small kind of holding, a kind of presence that says, you matter too. Let it sink in. You are not just the shoulder. You are someone who deserves to lean, to rest, to be gathered up in kindness. No explanations needed. You smile, but it doesn't reach your eyes. You've mastered it, really. That effortless upward curve, that softening around the corners of your mouth that tells people, I'm okay. You've used it in meetings, at dinner tables, in late-night texts, and most of the time, no one looks twice. The smile does its job. It hides the sinking. But inside, you know the truth. You're smiling while you're sinking. It's not dramatic, not some giant breakdown or public unraveling. It's quieter than that. It's the way your hands tremble ever so slightly as you carry yet another emotional load that isn't yours. It's the way you stare into the fridge at midnight, not really hungry, just hollow. It's the way your own needs feel like background noise, muted beneath everyone else's headlines. And so, you smile. Because it's easier. Because it buys you time. Because it keeps the questions away. If you've ever caught your reflection mid-smile and felt a sharp pang of sadness, that's why. Somewhere along the line, your smile became a mask. Not a lie exactly, but not quite the truth either. A placeholder. A way to say, please don't ask. I'm not ready to talk about it. And the world seems perfectly happy to accept that smile at face value. They praise you for your calm, your patience, your grace. They comment on how put together you are, not realizing that it takes everything in you just to keep your pieces from slipping. They call you strong, which is a beautiful thing until it becomes a prison. Because how do you say, "I'm drowning," when everyone thinks you're floating? You might try once in a while. A half joke, a sigh that lingers too long, a text that trails off. But the replies are fast and shallow. Hanging there. You've got this. And just like that, the window closes. So you go back to smiling. Even when your mind feels like static, even when your body is running on fumes, even when the idea of one more conversation makes your skin buzz with quiet dread, you become the queen of the polite nod, the gentle laugh, the "it's nothing really." But what if it is something? What if behind that carefully timed smile is a heart that's aching? What if you're not lazy or unmotivated or oversensitive, but simply tired of pretending? And more than that, what if someone someday could look at your smile and gently ask, "Is that real?" Not to call you out, but to call you in. There's a part of you that wants that craves it, that whispers late at night, "I wish someone could see me, really see me, and still stay." But most days it feels safer not to hope. So you smile while you sink. Because at least the smile is familiar. At least it gives you a sense of control. And you've learned to swim beneath the surface while waving cheerfully above it. But you don't have to keep doing this forever. There is space, even now, to let that smile soften, to let it slip just a little, to whisper into the dark, "I'm not okay," and let that truth echo without shame. Because your worth was never tied to how convincing your smile could be. You are not only lovable when you're cheerful. You are not only valuable when you're composed. You are allowed to feel. You are allowed to falter. And maybe tonight, that's enough. Let yourself rest the corners of your mouth. Let your face be quiet. Let your spirit sigh. You don't need the mask here. Some burdens are loud. They clatter and crash into your day with all the grace of a dropped skillet. They demand attention, cry out for help, leave visible dents in the floorboards of your life. But yours? Yours is quieter. The weight you carry is invisible, and that's what makes it so heavy. No one sees it because you've gotten so good at hiding it. You laugh when things feel hard. You help others even when you can barely keep yourself upright. You remember birthdays, send check-in texts, offer to pick up the slack. Meanwhile, no one notices that your own world feels like it's tilting. You've built a reputation around strength, around capability, around showing up no matter what. And while that's admirable, it's also incredibly isolating. Because once people see you as the strong one, they stop checking if you're okay. And you stop expecting them to. So you keep carrying it. The mental load of remembering everyone's needs, the emotional strain of being the one people confide in, vent to, lean on, the quiet grief of feeling overlooked, even as you're praised for being so reliable. It's in the way you wake up already tired. Not from lack of sleep, but from anticipation. You brace yourself for the day before your feet even hit the floor. You rehearse conversations in your head, how to soften your no, how to sound cheerful when you're anything but, how to pretend that everything is just fine. And maybe the most exhausting part is that you're not even sure when it all started. There wasn't one big moment, one grand choice.
Just 1,000 tiny ones. A yes here, a smile there, a swallowed frustration, a postponed boundary, until slowly, silently, the weight built up. And now it's yours. Yours to hold, yours to balance, yours to keep. Or is it? Because here's the thing no one tells you. Invisible weight doesn't mean imaginary. Just because no one else sees it doesn't mean it isn't real. Just because you carry it well doesn't mean it's not crushing you. You've likely heard people say, "You're so calm. You never complain. You handle everything so well." They think it's a compliment. They don't realize they're naming your armor. Because complaining feels dangerous. Like if you let one thing slip, the whole structure might come crashing down. Like people might stop trusting you or liking you or needing you. So you say nothing and carry everything. But let's take a breath right here, right now. What if, for just this moment, you put one thing down? Not all of it, just one. One expectation, one obligation, one fake smile. Let it slide gently from your shoulders and onto the ground beside you. Notice the space it leaves behind. That space, that's yours. You don't have to fill it right away. You don't have to explain it. You don't even have to tell anyone it's there. But feel it. Feel what it's like to be just a little bit lighter, just a little bit more yourself, just a little bit less bound by the version of you that everyone else relies on. You are not weak for needing rest. You are not selfish for wanting ease. You are not dramatic for feeling heavy under things others don't even notice. You are human. And maybe that's the most radical thing of all, to let yourself be human in a world that keeps rewarding you for being superhuman. Tonight, let's honor the weight you carry. Let's name it. Let's stop pretending it's not there. And maybe, just maybe, let's imagine what it might feel like to carry less of it tomorrow. You've earned that right.
You're in a room with friends. Someone's talking, maybe venting about work, about a relationship, about feeling overwhelmed. And you're nodding, listening intently, offering comforting words in just the right places. You're doing what you always do, being there, fully, present, available. But then there's a flicker inside you, a thought, a feeling, something sharp and real that wants to come out. Maybe it's a quiet ache that's been sitting in your chest all week. Maybe it's a story you haven't told anyone. Maybe it's just a sentence. "Actually, I've been struggling too." You don't say it. The moment passes. Because interrupting feels wrong. You don't want to seem selfish. You don't want to shift the spotlight. You don't want to turn someone else's vulnerability into your own. And so, you let it go. Again. You've learned that your silence keeps things running smoothly, that when you don't speak up, no one feels awkward. No one has to sit in discomfort, least of all you. But the cost? The cost is your truth. It's in the way your words knot up inside you, in the way your emotions back up like traffic on a freeway, in the way you start to believe that what you feel just doesn't matter enough to say out loud. You might even start convincing yourself that it's noble, that being the listener makes you kind, that staying quiet is mature, that being low maintenance is a gift you're giving to the people around you. But deep down,
there's a question that lingers. What would happen if you actually said what you felt? Would they think you're too much? Would they pull away? Would they stop coming to you altogether? That fear is real. It's been fed by past moments when your honesty wasn't met with care. Maybe someone brushed it off. Maybe they changed the subject. Maybe they said nothing at all. So now you pre-edit your feelings. You run them through filters. You downplay, you dismiss, you defer. You say things like, "It's not a big deal," or "I'm just tired," or "It's nothing serious." But inside, it is a big deal. Because every time you silence yourself to keep the peace, you trade a piece of your own inner harmony. Every time you swallow your truth to avoid being a burden, you tell yourself again that your needs are less important than anyone else's. And the truth? You're not trying to be invisible. You're just trying to be safe. Interrupting, after all, isn't just about cutting into someone's sentence. It's about disrupting a dynamic you've spent your whole life managing. A dynamic that says, you're the steady one. You're the listener. You don't make waves. But here's a soft reminder. Being known means being heard. And being heard means, yes, sometimes interrupting. Sometimes saying, "Actually, can I share something?" Or, "I've been holding this for a while." Or even just, "Me too." It doesn't make you selfish. It doesn't make you dramatic. It makes you real. So maybe next time when your heart starts to speak, just maybe, you could let it. Even if your voice shakes, even if it feels clumsy, even if you don't have the perfect words, because your story deserves a voice, not just an audience. And you deserve to be heard, not just helpful.
You're walking through your day again, holding doors open, remembering birthdays, answering texts with warmth, even when you're running on empty. People describe you with glowing terms: sweet, kind, thoughtful, selfless. It's flattering until it's exhausting. Because there's something about being nice that no one warns you about. It becomes a role, and then a trap. You didn't set out to play a part. It started naturally. Maybe you were praised for being easygoing, cooperative, cheerful. You learned early that when you smile, people relax. When you stay quiet, conflict dissolves. When you say yes, everything keeps moving smoothly. And so, nice became the armor you wore to navigate the world. But over time, the armor started to feel more like a cage. Because being nice doesn't always mean being authentic. It often means being agreeable at the cost of your own boundaries, saying yes when you want to say no, forgiving quickly so no one has to sit in discomfort, minimizing your hurt so you won't make things awkward. The compliments still come. You're such a good person. You're so easy to be around. But sometimes they sound like code for, you don't challenge me. You don't need anything. And the truth is, you do need things. You need space. You need time. You need to feel understood, not just appreciated. But asking for those things feels risky. What if it breaks the image people have of you? What if they don't respond well? What if it complicates the relationship? So instead, you keep being the nice version of yourself. You downplay your preferences. You sidestep your needs. You act unbothered, even when something clearly stings. But here's a quiet truth.
Being kind isn't the same as being small. There's a difference between genuine warmth and performative pleasantness, between true generosity and compulsive people-pleasing. And the line gets blurry when your identity becomes wrapped in how easily others can lean on you. Kindness should fill you up. It should feel like sunlight, not like a drain. And yet, the cost of being nice, too nice, adds up. It's in the invitations you accept when you need rest, the boundaries you fail to set, the late-night overthinking after every conversation, wondering if you said too much or not enough, the guilt you carry for simply wanting solitude. Somewhere along the way, nice stopped being a virtue and started being a performance, a constant, quiet shape-shifting to keep others comfortable. And the scariest part? You've done it for so long, you're not sure who you are underneath. But here's the thing. The world doesn't need you to be palatable. It needs you to be whole. Not just the agreeable version, not just the calm one, not just the people maker. You were allowed to have edges, frustrations, loud moments, soft moments, messy, tangled emotions that don't always fit neatly into the nice box. You were allowed to be kind and honest, generous and assertive, compassionate and unapologetic. The people who truly see you, who love the real you, won't need you to shrink. They'll sit with your no as gently as they sit with your yes. So the next time you feel the urge to smile when you're hurting, or agree when you want to decline, or comfort someone when you're the one who needs comforting, pause and ask yourself, is this kindness or is this fear? You don't have to be the nice one forever. You just have to be you.
You always ask the questions, always check in, always text first. You're the one who remembers birthdays, sends thinking of you notes, notices when someone's voice sounds a little different. You're the emotional radar in every room, tuned in, alert, ready to respond. And you do it so naturally, so effortlessly, that most people never stop to think, who's checking in on you? It's not that you're keeping score. You don't offer your care with the expectation of getting something back. You genuinely want to be there for people. But after a while, a quiet ache starts to grow, a sense of being invisible, even as you're actively showing up for everyone else. You ask how someone's day was, and they tell you, in detail. But when you speak, their phone lights up, their gaze wanders. They don't ask back. You open the door for deeper conversation, and it drifts, casually, carelessly, into something lighter, something safer. And once again, you're left holding space for someone else while your own words go unspoken. At first, you brush it off. Maybe they're distracted. Maybe it's just bad timing. Maybe you're overreacting. But the pattern doesn't go away. You start to realize that being a good listener has somehow made you less visible. People come to you to be heard, but they don't stick around to listen. And that starts to hurt. Because even though you carry yourself with grace, even though you've mastered the art of the nod, the encouraging, the well-timed follow-up question, there's a part of you that longs to be seen. Not just appreciated for your empathy, but met in it, responded to, asked about. It's a quiet kind of loneliness, the kind that doesn't stem from being alone, but from being surrounded by people who never turn the spotlight back in your direction. You start to wonder, if you stopped reaching out, would anyone notice the silence? If you stopped asking the questions, would anyone ask you? Sometimes the answer is yes. There are people who see you, who notice when your energy dips, who reach for you not just when they need support,
but because they miss your voice. And when that happens, it feels like standing in the sun after a long winter. But other times, it's just silence, empty inboxes, unreturned texts, the creeping realization that some relationships only exist because you keep them alive. It's a brutal thing to admit. That maybe you've built your connections on one-sided foundations. That maybe in your desire to be there for others, you taught them that you didn't need anything in return. That maybe you accidentally made yourself optional. But here's the truth you rarely say out loud. You need care too. You need to be asked how you are, and not just as a formality, but with real curiosity, with follow-up questions, with presence. You need conversations where you're not the emotional caretaker, moments where someone holds the silence for you, spaces where you can exhale without fear of being interrupted. You're not selfish for wanting that. You're not needy for craving it. You're human. And the next time someone asks how they can support you, if that rare moment comes, try telling them. Try saying, "Sometimes I just want someone to ask how I am." It's a small request, but it's also a radical one, especially when you've spent so long being the one who never asks for much. You deserve reciprocity. You deserve mutuality. You deserve conversations where the echo doesn't fall only on your side of the canyon. So keep listening, yes, but also allow yourself to be heard. Let your voice ring out, even if it trembles. You've spent so much time tuning into everyone else. It's okay to tune into you now.
It's not something that happens all at once. There's no dramatic snap, no clear point where everything breaks. Instead, it's a slow unraveling, the kind you only notice when the threads start catching on things they didn't used to. You give your time, even when your calendar is already a jigsaw of obligations. You give your energy, even when it costs you sleep, peace, or your last nerve. You give emotionally, quietly, consistently, until suddenly you realize there's not much left of you. You're worn thin, and the people around you, they still ask for more. It's not that they're cruel. Most of them don't even realize what they're doing. They've simply grown used to your yes, your availability, your steady presence. You've been the sturdy one for so long that no one sees how the fabric is wearing down. And when you do say no, on the rare occasion that you try, it catches people off guard. They ask if you're okay, if something's wrong, if you're mad, because your boundaries don't match the version of you they've come to expect. It's a strange kind of grief, realizing that the person people love is the one who sacrifices, the one who stretches, the one who puts themselves second, third, or last. And yet, you keep doing it because saying no feels like failure, because protecting your peace feels like letting someone down, because you've mistaken depletion for kindness and self-neglect for generosity. But there comes a point, there always does, when you feel the tear. The moment when even small requests start to feel enormous, when a simple, "Can you help me real quick?" makes your chest tighten and your thoughts scramble for escape. That's the fray. That's your system quietly telling you, you've gone too far. The thing is, no one else will sound the alarm for you. No one else knows how close you are to burning out. Only you feel the tremble in your hands when you smile and say, "Of course." Only you know how many times you've bitten your tongue to keep the peace. Only you carry the weight of being everyone's support system while quietly falling apart. But here's what no one tells you. Kindness doesn't have to mean self-erasure. You can love people deeply and still say, "I need to stop here."
You can be generous and still reserve energy for yourself. You can care without constantly bleeding for others. Fraying isn't inevitable. It's a signal, a soft plea from your body, your spirit, your inner child whispering, "Please take care of me too." And when you start to listen, really listen to that voice, you might find that saying no doesn't end the world, that pausing doesn't mean people will leave, that rest doesn't make you unreliable. It makes you real, whole, human. So, yes, you've given a lot. You've poured yourself out again and again. And maybe it's time to ask, who is filling you back up? If the answer is no one, it's not a sign that you're unlovable. It's a sign that you need to love yourself with the same patience and devotion you've shown everyone else. Start small. Say no without apology. Turn your phone off for a night. Let an unanswered message stay unanswered. Choose quiet. Choose softness. Choose you. You are not a resource to be mined. You are not a service to be scheduled. You are a person with limits, with needs, with worth. And you don't have to give until there's nothing left. You've already given so much. Now it's okay to keep something for yourself.
It's strange, isn't it? How even the smallest acts of self-preservation can feel like betrayal. You cancel a plan, and the guilt creeps in. You let a message sit unread, and the worry starts buzzing in your chest. You spend a quiet evening alone instead of showing up for yet another thing, and suddenly you're questioning whether you're a bad friend, a bad partner, a bad person. But why? Why does needing space feel so wrong? Maybe it's because you've been trained, subtly, consistently, to believe that your value lies in your usefulness, that your presence is a gift only when it's offered without hesitation, without boundaries, that love, to be real, must also be constant. You learned to interpret rest as laziness, alone time as avoidance, silence as failure. And now, even when your body is begging you for pause, when your mind is frayed and your spirit is sagging, you hesitate. You push through. You tell yourself, it's not that bad. You minimize your exhaustion because someone else might have it worse. But here's the truth. Needing space doesn't make you selfish. It makes you self-aware. It's okay to want to unplug, to retreat, to not be available for a little while. It's okay to draw the curtains and let the world move without you for an evening. You're not abandoning anyone. You're not being cold. You're protecting something sacred. You. And let's be honest, space isn't just about recovery. It's about clarity. It's in those quiet moments that your thoughts breathe differently, that your emotions rise to the surface, not in panic, but in honesty. Space lets you hear yourself again, after days or weeks of being tuned entirely to everyone else. And yes, guilt might still creep in. You'll feel the itch to justify, to explain, to prove that your boundaries are reasonable. But you don't owe anyone a PowerPoint presentation on your exhaustion. Sometimes, "I need a moment" is the most honest thing you can say. And the people who truly care, they won't make you feel like you've done something wrong. They won't sulk or guilt trip or make your absence about them.
They'll understand that space isn't distance. It's maintenance. It's how you stay grounded, balanced, whole. And if someone can't respect that, it doesn't mean you're asking too much. It means they're offering too little. You are not the emergency contact for the entire universe. You are not the default therapist, the designated listener, the one who's always okay. You are human. And humans need space. Not once a year, not when you've collapsed, but regularly, gently, before the fraying begins. So, the next time guilt shows up, whisper back, I'm not abandoning anyone. I'm returning to myself. That's not selfish. That's wise. That's brave. That's necessary. Because here's what they don't teach you when you become the listener, the helper, the one who holds everyone else. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do for others is to step back and refill your own cup. Not because they deserve less of you, but because you deserve all of you.
You don't slam doors. You don't burn bridges. You don't announce your absence with grand gestures or dramatic exits. That's never been your way. Instead, when the weight grows too heavy, when the noise gets too loud, when your spirit begins to tremble, you retreat. Quietly. Carefully. Like a tide pulling back from the shore. It's not that you stop caring. In fact, it's the opposite. You care so deeply, so fiercely, that stepping away is the only way to keep from unraveling. But even your withdrawal is soft. So soft that most people don't even notice. They text, and you take a little longer to reply. They call, and you let it ring just once more than usual. You smile, still, but it doesn't reach as far. You're there, but not quite all the way. And no one says anything. Maybe they assume you're just busy, or tired, or distracted. Maybe they're used to you being low maintenance, the one who doesn't demand attention, the one who always bounces back. So, they don't ask. They don't check in. And your gentle withdrawal slips right under the radar. There's a part of you that wishes someone would notice, not with panic or pressure, but with care. A simple, hey, you've been a little quiet. How are you really? But you also know that it's not their responsibility to guess. So you navigate this in-between space, this quiet fade-out, like a ghost in your own life. Still showing up, still functioning, but lighter somehow. Less tethered, less present. And in that absence, you begin to see yourself more clearly. Because pulling back doesn't always mean hiding. Sometimes it means recalibrating. You spend more time in your own company. You let your thoughts wander without needing to package them for someone else. You reclaim your evenings. You stop explaining so much. And in that hush, something sacred stirs. Your voice, maybe. Or your hunger. Or your sadness finally unmasked. You remember what it feels like to sit with yourself, not as a performance, not as a break between obligations, but as a homecoming. There's a craft to this kind of withdrawal, a grace to it. You're not cutting people off, you're not building walls, you're just turning down the volume.
lowering the expectations, making room to breathe. Of course, there's fear too. What if they forget you? What if this quiet becomes permanent? But the truth is, the people meant to stay will feel your absence like a shift in the air. They won't need a calendar reminder to miss you. They'll notice the silence and reach gently into it. And if they don't, then maybe they were only ever there for the noise. Withdrawing gently doesn't make you fragile. It makes you wise enough to know when your soul needs silence more than applause. You're not quitting. You're listening. You're healing in the quiet. And when you're ready, you'll return. Not with fanfare, not with an apology, but with a steadier heartbeat and a little more of yourself intact. Because the truth is, pulling away is sometimes how you find your way back.
There's a moment that comes after the withdrawal, when you've stopped responding quickly, when your phone is no longer an extension of your body, and your days stretch out with fewer interruptions. It's quiet now, not just on the outside, but within. And strangely, this silence begins to feel safe. At first, it's unsettling, the kind of quiet that hums in your ears. You're used to noise, to updates, to voices filling the space and needing things from you. But this silence isn't empty. It's full of the things you used to suppress, the feelings you buried, the truth you never said out loud. And still, you don't rush to fill it. You let the silence stay. Because in some strange way, it understands you. It doesn't interrupt. It doesn't expect a smile. It doesn't ask for explanations. It simply holds you exactly as you are. You've always been good at listening to others, their heartbreaks, their stress, their drama, their joy. You're the one who remembers birthdays, checks in after job interviews, senses something is wrong from just a change in tone. But when it's your turn to speak, your voice hesitates. Not because you don't have things to say, but because silence has become your shield. Words feel risky, vulnerable, like opening a door that can't be closed. So you keep it locked. You've learned how to nod and smile and say just enough to move the conversation along. You've mastered the art of being fine. You keep your sentences short, your emotions folded neatly behind your back. It's not that you want to be distant. It's that being open has cost you before. You've been told you're too sensitive, too much, too intense. So now you choose silence. Not because it's your nature, but because it's your armor. And you wear it well. But underneath that armor is a longing to be seen without performing, to be held without asking, to speak and not be edited, interpreted, or diminished. Silence is safer, but it's also lonelier. And in that loneliness, you start to wonder if maybe, just maybe, you deserve more. Maybe there's someone out there who won't flinch when you're honest. Maybe there's a space that won't shatter when you speak your truth. Maybe your voice, quiet as it is, still matters. But for now, you keep the silence close, like a soft blanket you can wrap around yourself when the world gets too sharp. You let the noise fall away, and in its place, you rediscover parts of yourself that got drowned out. The softness, the ache, the rawness of being human. Not polished, not filtered, just real. Silence doesn't demand, it allows. It becomes a sacred space where your thoughts can stretch out without being judged, where your fears can whisper without being shut down, where your heart can tremble without being told to be stronger. In silence, you learn to sit with your feelings, not solve them, not shame them, just be with them. You learn to name your needs, to grieve quietly, to hope gently. You realize that some of your deepest healing doesn't happen in conversation. It happens here, in this hush, in this stillness, in this space where nothing is asked of you. And eventually, when you're ready, you'll speak again. Not because you're done hurting, but because your voice is no longer something you fear. It's something you've befriended, and it will carry you forward softly, because silence might be safe, but your voice is sacred. One day, you notice it. Not outside, not in the noise of your usual world, but deep within. A quiet craving for something you've never fully allowed yourself to have. A space that belongs solely to you. Not a corner in someone else's chaos. Not a temporary pause between responsibilities, but a room of your own. Sacred, unshared, and finally, safe. It doesn't have to be a real room, at least not at first. It might begin as a small ritual, a walk without your phone, a few moments under the covers with a book no one else is reading, or even just a whispered boundary no one else hears. But whatever it is yours, and it is the start of something beautiful. You begin to gather little pieces of peace, a mug that fits just right in your hands, a playlist that feels like an exhale, a journal that holds your feelings without judgment, a blanket that remembers the shape of your tiredness. These things are not extravagant, but they are intentional, and they remind you that you exist, not just as a helper or a listener or a giver, but as a whole person with needs, edges, and a right to softness. This room of your own becomes more than just a refuge. It's a rebellion, a quiet refusal to keep being everywhere for everyone else while leaving yourself nowhere. For so long, you thought being available was your strength, that being present for others made you valuable. And while that may still hold some truth, you're starting to see the cost. Every time you answered before being asked, every time you rearranged your schedule to fit someone else's crisis, every time you said, "I'm good," when you weren't. The price was this: your inner room stayed locked, abandoned, forgotten. But not anymore. Now you're reclaiming it, one breath at a time. Sometimes that looks like saying no without guilt. Sometimes it means closing the door, even metaphorically, and not opening it until you feel ready. Sometimes it's as simple as letting a call go to voicemail, not because you don't care, but because you finally do, about yourself. And this shift, this quiet prioritizing of your own peace, starts to ripple. People notice. Some don't like it. The version of you that was always available suited them just fine. But you're no longer performing availability as proof of your goodness. You're building something better, a home inside yourself. In this room, your feelings are welcome.
your anger, even the kind you used to swallow whole, your sadness, especially the kind that lingers like fog, your joy, the quiet kind that doesn't need to be shared to be real, and your dreams, the ones you buried under duty and politeness, those too begin to stretch and yawn and wake up. This room doesn't need approval. It doesn't need permission. It exists because you do. It's a place where you can breathe differently, move slowly, feel fully. You don't owe anyone access to this space. Not friends who only call when they're in crisis, not coworkers who guilt you into staying late, not even family who never quite understood your boundaries. Because this room was never for them. It's for you. And it's okay if you don't invite anyone in, or if you only open the door for those who knock gently and stay soft. You're allowed to be selective. You're allowed to be whole. You're allowed to protect your peace, not as a luxury, but as a necessity. So you light the candle. You close the tab. You turn the page. And in this quiet, sacred room of your own, you begin to remember something simple, something soft, something life-saving. You are not just someone who listens. You are someone who deserves to be heard. By yourself, first of all. And in this room, your voice echoes, clear, gentle, and finally free.
There comes a moment, quiet, perhaps even anticlimactic, when you realize you don't have to save the day. Not this time. Not again. You've spent so long being the one who steps in, smooths things over, keeps the peace, and carries more than your fair share. You were the hero in other people's stories. But tonight, you gently set the cape down, and nothing falls apart. It doesn't happen in a blaze of defiance. It happens in a sigh, a pause, a whisper that says, "Not today." Maybe someone calls with a crisis and you don't pick up. Maybe a message goes unanswered. Maybe you finally let someone else take responsibility for fixing what's broken, even if they fumble through it. It's uncomfortable at first, watching things unfold without your guiding hand, but slowly it becomes liberating. You begin to see what happens when you're not the glue. Things still hold, or they fall apart and get rebuilt by others, not by you. And that is not a failure. That is balance. For years, you believed your value was in your usefulness, that being indispensable was the same as being loved, that if you weren't the problem solver, the caretaker, the dependable one, people might forget to keep you close. But you were never meant to be kept because of your utility. You were meant to be held because of your humanity. You learn to sit still when the urge to fix arises. You feel that twitch in your fingers, the itch to jump in, to offer, to help, but you breathe through it. You remind yourself, just because you can doesn't mean you must. You are not the solution to every problem. You are not the emotional first responder on call 24/7. You've seen what happens when you always say yes. The erosion of your time, the neglect of your body, the silence of your own needs. So now, you say no. Not with cruelty, not with coldness, but with clarity, with care, with truth. And something beautiful happens when you stop being the hero. You discover how strong other people can be when given the space to try. Some surprise you, some disappoint you, but in all of it, you stay grounded, not detached, just centered, rooted in yourself. You also realize how many things you've missed while rushing to rescue. Moments of stillness, laughter that's yours alone, ideas that had no room to bloom because your brain was too full of other people's storms. Now they have space, and you begin to feel wonder again, not just weariness. This isn't about becoming selfish. It's about recognizing that martyrdom is not the path to meaning. You don't have to sacrifice yourself to feel worthy. You don't have to bleed to prove your love. The people who matter won't need you to break just to belong. So you start protecting your mornings, you guard your evenings, you step away from group chats that drain you, you mute chaos and let peace be your default. Some will misunderstand. They'll call you distant, changed, less nice. But nice was never supposed to mean self-erasing, and you're not becoming less, you're becoming more of yourself. You begin asking questions that used to scare you. What do I want if no one is asking? What would I do if I didn't feel responsible for everyone? Where would I go if I didn't have to take care of anyone but me? These aren't selfish questions, they are sacred ones, and they deserve answers. So you stop being the hero and start being whole, not perfect, not invulnerable, but honest, rested, present. You become the kind of person who doesn't carry the world, but walks it gently, who doesn't silence themselves for the comfort of others, but speaks kindly, firmly, in their own voice, who doesn't live to be needed, but chooses to be known. And this choice, this shift, doesn't make you cold. It makes you clear. It doesn't mean you won't help or care or give, but now you do it with intention, from fullness, not obligation, with boundaries, not burnout. You are not the hero this time. You are the human, and that is enough.
Let's ease into quiet now. Let your shoulders sink just a little lower. Let the corners of your mouth soften, even if no one's watching. Let your breath stretch longer than before, as if your lungs have finally been given room. You've done enough for today, truly. You've held space. You've been brave even in silence. You've remembered things most people never notice. The way you show up for others, the way your voice stays calm even when you're tired, the way you listen with your whole heart, even when yours feels a little frayed. Tonight, though, you don't have to do any of that. You don't have to fix anything. You don't have to carry anyone. You don't even have to make sense of it all. You just get to rest. Let the stillness feel like kindness instead of emptiness. Let your thoughts settle like dust in a sunbeam. Let the weight of the day slide off your back, feather by feather. The world will still be there tomorrow, with its noise and requests and tangled expectations. But right now, this moment is just for you. And in this quiet, I hope you hear something small and true. You matter, even when you're not performing. You're allowed to rest without guilt. You're allowed to breathe without explaining. And you are allowed to be held. So as the night wraps around you, remember, you are not behind. You are not broken. You are not invisible. You are here. You are healing, and that is more than enough. Sleep as long as you need. Dream as softly as you can. And whenever you're ready for your next quiet moment, Somni Story will be here, steady, gentle, and waiting. Good night.